The country of Germany is incredibly diverse. For example, when we go up into the northern regions of the country, people typically have high levels of European hunter-gatherer DNA. And when we go down towards the south, towards Bavaria, people typically have higher levels of early European farmer-related admixture. You know, what's really interesting about the German genome, guys, is that they're like a combination of the three ancestral populations that contribute to all European genomes. We are going to look at the German genome through a variety of different time periods to understand who these people are from a genetic perspective. Over here, I've got a Stone Age DNA breakdown of the average German genome. And interestingly, what we see is that around 50% of their DNA is European hunter-gatherer related. Now guys, the European hunter-gatherers were one of the first people to inhabit Europe, and they contribute substantially to most northeastern European genomes. It's found in the Lithuanians, it's found in the Latvians, and it's also found in the Germans. Now guys, these European hunter-gatherers were incredibly diverse amongst themselves. For example, in Central Europe you had the Western hunter-gatherers, who are theorized to have blue eyes and dark skin. Whilst in Northeastern Europe you had the Eastern hunter-gatherers, who are theorized to have had blonde hair and brown eyes. But if we look closely at this breakdown over here, what we see is that around 40% of their DNA is Anatolian Neolithic farming related. And that's because, guys, around 8,000 years ago there was yet another migration. This time it was characterized by agriculturalists who originated in Anatolia and expanded all across Europe. Because of their expertise of cultivating resources and growing large communities, they largely replaced the hunter-gatherer communities across Europe. Now, the really interesting thing about the German people is because Germany itself is in the northern regions of Europe and because it's also cold, these Anatolian Neolithic farmers didn't have as much of an influence. That's why, compared to Italian, Spanish, and other Mediterranean populations, the Germans have lower levels of this Anatolian Neolithic farmer-related ancestry. Needless to say, the combination of European hunter-gatherer and Anatolian Neolithic farmer forms a new ancestral component amongst Europeans known as Funnelbeaker. The Funnelbeaker culture contributes substantially to most Germanic genomes, and this is the reason why, guys, when we go up towards Scandinavia and even Germany itself, haplogroup I1, which is oftentimes associated with the Funnelbeaker culture, is found in high prevalences. These Neolithic farmers existed in Europe for many years, but then around 5,000 years ago, a people known as the Yamnaya started to migrate out of their homelands. And because of their expertise on the horse and their patriarchal culture, they soon outreplaced the Anatolian Neolithic farmers. This is the reason why, guys, when we look at the average German genome through a Bronze Age perspective, over 40% of their DNA is Indo-European Yamnaya related. And this is also the reason why, guys, when we look into the haplogroup profiles of the average Germanic people, they overwhelmingly belong to the haplogroups R1b, R1a, with the exception of I1, which belongs to the Funnelbeaker culture. When the Indo-Europeans expand, they start to set the foundations of the Germanic identity. But you remember when I told you that the Germans have high prevalences of R1b and R1a? That's because the Indo-Europeans themselves were diverse too. You had a subset of the Indo-Europeans which belonged to R1a, and they are associated with the corded ware culture. The corded ware culture introduces the Satan branch of the Indo-European languages. That's why when you go to countries like Russia, India, and even Iran, people speak the Satan branches of the Indo-European languages and also have high prevalences of haplogroups R1a. On the contrary, when you go towards Europe, most Indo-European languages belong to the Centum branch, and this is also the reason why we see high prevalences of haplogroups R1b in Western Europe, which are oftentimes associated with the Bell-Beaker cultures. Now, although the Germans speak a Centum branch of the Indo-European language, their lexicon is heavily derived from the corded ware cultures. That is to say that the German identity in amongst itself is a hybridization between the two predominant Indo-European cultures. And there you go, guys. For the most part, this is the basis of the Germanic identity. The Germanic people themselves actually originate in southern Scandinavia and would soon spread all across Europe. And obviously there are a slew of migrations which I didn't cover within this video. But for the most part, these are the ones that are very fundamental to the Germanic identity, and the inspiration behind this video, guys, is I actually launched a poll on my Instagram asking my followers what the next region I should explore is, and everyone voted for Germany. So if you're interested in me exploring other regions, make sure you follow me on Instagram and participate in the polls that I launch.